Sophia never imagined she would marry a man she had never met. Yet there she stood, wrapped in a tight pearl-white wedding dress, walking down the aisle toward a complete stranger. Her palms were sweating, her throat felt tight, and the entire world, or at least a few million television viewers, were watching. She whispered to herself, "Look-a here, girl. Stay calm. You signed up for this foolishness." And at the end of the aisle stood Jacob, handsome, calm, in fact, suspiciously calm. He whispered under his breath, "Okay, don't sweat, don't faint, act normal." But neither one felt normal. When Sophia reached the altar, their eyes met. Two strangers pretending fate had written this moment instead of a TV show contract. The officiant asked Jacob if he took Sophia as his wife. Jacob answered quickly, "Yes, indeed. I would love to be united in holy matrimony with this fine Mama Jama. So, yeah, I do." Then the minister turned to Sophia. She hesitated, then forced a smile and said, "Yeah, I do." And just like that, with two shaky vows from two people who knew absolutely nothing about each other, they were married. At the reception that followed, their awkwardness filled the room. Jacob tried to make small talk during their first dance. He was so nervous, but he did what he does best, tell jokes, as he stuttered saying, "So, uh, you come here often?" Sophia stared at him, offering a slight grin, and said, "The fact that you had to start our first serious moment with a joke is a little concerning." "Hey, I'm a nervous comedian," he said. "And besides, pretty women make me act weird." She smirked and answered, "Uh-huh. You gonna always tell jokes and make fun of everything, right?" He bashfully replied, "Possibly." Then she looked at him and said, "Tell me something romantic." And he answered saying, "Knock, knock. Who's there? Booty." "Oh my God," she said. "Booty who, man?" He said, "Booty call me lucky. I married the most beautiful stranger I've ever seen." But Sophia didn't laugh. She said, "Lame. Try again." And despite the awkwardness, something warm flashed between them. Fast forward to their honeymoon. It was beautiful. Beaches, sunsets, bougie resort breakfasts. They laughed together, flirted, and slowly tried to unwrap the mystery of who each of them really was. But on the third night, everything shifted. Sophia stood on their balcony, staring at the ocean. "Jacob, there's something you need to know." He joked, "Is this where you tell me you're a secret spy from another country and you're here to save me from a political crisis?" She didn't laugh and didn't even smile this time, but she quietly uttered, "I have a son." Jacob froze. "Oh, okay." And although his voice said, "okay," his face said, "Lord, I ain't trying to be no Lil Crumb Snatcher's baby daddy." Sophia asked softly, "Is that a problem?" Jacob shook his head slowly. "We gon' see. I've never thought about being a father figure, but if I gotta do it, I gotta do it right. Maybe?" Reality began to creep into their fresh new marriage while they were trying to enjoy their honeymoon. When the cameras stopped rolling and they moved into their shared apartment, the honeymoon glow vanished. Clothes were left on the floor and dishes piled up. Their routines clashed immediately. Sophia called out one afternoon, "Jacob, why is the milk in the pantry?" He calmly answered, "Oops, sorry, I did it. Guilty as charged." "Stop playing with me," she yelled. "This is irresponsible on so many levels. Look, Jacob, you may be tall, dark, and handsome, but I can't deal with foolishness like this. And if you want to know who I really am, I ain't the one to play games with. So from this day forward, let it be known, I do not play games, okay?" And with his natural comedic tone, Jacob shrugged his shoulders and replied, No need in crying over spoiled milk, right? But Sophie didn't think it was funny at all. And if you think that set her off, that was nothing. The bickering is just getting started. Their biggest challenge came in the form of a small, wide-eyed child, Sophia's 7-year-old son, Mason. He walked into the kitchen, saw Jacob standing there, and yelled, "Mommy! Mommy! A man is in our kitchen!" Sophia went running to his rescue and said, "Baby, that's Jacob. He's new around here." Jacob bent down to greet him. "Hey, buddy, I'm Jacob. I've heard a lot about you." "How?" Mason said. "I don't know anything about you. Who are you and why do you look so tall? Please don't eat my snacks." Jacob laughed and said, "I don't want your snacks. I'm good with the snacks I already have. I have more snacks than the whole grocery store. Pop-Tarts, cinnamon rolls, frosted flakes, corn dogs. I got all the candy that was ever made. Ice cream sandwiches. Yeah." "Where?" Mason asked. "I don't see any of those snacks in here." Jacob chuckled and said, "They're up in the dark attic, hidden behind the AC unit, wrapped in a blanket. You'll never find them, kid." And despite the funny moments, the pressure of blending their lives brought tension. One rainy evening, Jacob left the apartment without explanation. Sophia paced the floor for hours until he finally returned. "Where were you?" she demanded. Jacob rubbed his forehead and said, "I needed air. I told you I was overwhelmed." "No, you didn't tell me anything," Sophia shot back. "You disappeared. I'm here trying to balance life, a kid, and a marriage your irresponsible ass don't even take seriously." He fired back, "You didn't tell me about Mason until the honeymoon." "I was scared," she cried. "I didn't know if you'd run." "I didn't run," he said quietly. "I just walked fast." And again, Sophie didn't find his humor to be funny at all. And as they argued, a small voice interrupted. It was Mason. He looked up at his mother and asked, "Mommy, is Jacob leaving us too?" Sophia's heart cracked. "No, sweetheart, he's just learning." But she didn't fully believe her own words. Sophia spent the rest of the evening pacing from one end of the apartment to the other. Every new thought created a new sentence, and every new sentence made her angrier. She muttered to herself, "This man treats life like it's an open mic night. Everything's a joke. Everything's funny. Nothing is serious to him. Meanwhile, I'm out here trying to build a family, trying to build stability, trying to build anything that ain't a punchline." Jacob walked past her, completely clueless, tossing another joke into the air like it was confetti. He said, "Babe, did you see how Mason looked at me today? I think he's plotting to get into the attic and steal the snacks. He got that cartoon villain look." Sophia stopped and stared and said, "Jacob, ain't no attic in this damn apartment, and you ain't got no damn snacks, fool. This is exactly what I'm talking about." He blinked. "What?" "I'm bonding, in a kid's way." But Sophie strongly disagreed. She said, "You ain't bonding, you're deflecting. Every time something gets serious, anything, you throw a joke in the middle like it's gonna fix itself." He frowned. "I just want to keep things light." Then she screeched, "Life isn't light, Jacob. Not mine, not Mason's, not this marriage. You joke when you should listen. You play when you should pay attention. You laugh when you should grow." Jacob opened his mouth to respond, and I'm almost sure it was going to be another one of his light-hearted, comedic-styled responses. But she wasn't done, as she continued to fuss, saying, "You disappear for hours. You don't communicate. You don't check in. You don't take responsibility. And then you make a joke to try to reset the mood like that's enough." Jacob lowered his eyes, but she kept going, years of frustration pouring out. She said, "I need a partner. Not a class clown. Not a comedian. Not a man who uses jokes to hide from real conversations. I need maturity. I need effort. I need help with life. Not your comedy hour bullshit. Jacob's voice was small when he said, I'm trying, and I'm tired of trying alone, she whispered. He didn't have a comeback for that. For the first time all day, he didn't have a joke. He just walked into the other room, closed the door quietly, and didn't come back out. Hours later, the apartment was still. Mason was asleep. Jacob was silent somewhere behind a closed door. And Sophia, she finally broke down. She sat at the kitchen table, elbows on her knees, hands covering her face. Her breath came in shaky gulps. She grabbed her phone and dialed the one person who always understood her. Her sister answered on the second ring. What's wrong? Your voice sounds cracked. Through tears, Sophia choked. She said, I married a man I don't even know, on national TV. Her sister sucked her teeth and said, Girl, I told you not to join a show when them folks gonna hook you up with some old frog-eyed cartoon-looking character from a Bug's Life movie. Sophia let out an unexpected laugh, even through the tears, but her sister made sense. I don't understand him sometimes, she said. He's goofy and charming on camera, but once the cameras go off, it's like he doesn't know how to deal with real life, bills, kids, responsibility, emotion. He shuts down or he tries to make everything funny. I can't build a future on jokes. Her sister's voice softened and she said, Sophia, you've been the strong one in relationships, but this one seems to be different. You married this guy. You just can't walk away like you just met him at a bar. You have to stick with it long enough for him to get to know you and you get to know him. You have to teach him who you are and what you want in your marriage. And you've only been given a few weeks to do it. In a real-life situation, a couple usually figure these things out as they grow in a relationship together over time. Y'all don't get to do that. Your decision to make this marriage work is a hard decision that has to be made now. So, you need to decide, do you want to take the time to teach him, or do you want to just say, to hell with it, and leave him? Sophia wiped her eyes and mumbled, I don't know. Yes, you do, her sister said gently. You just don't want to say it yet. Sophia stared into the quiet apartment. Jacob's laughter didn't echo through it. His jokes weren't bouncing off the walls. It was just silence, cold, stiff silence. And in that heavy silence, Sophia knew she had a decision to make. Decision day arrived. The studio lights were bright, too bright, almost harsh, like they were determined to expose every fear, every truth, every hidden feeling. Sophia smoothed the satin of her soft blue dress, hands trembling slightly. Jacob sat beside her in a dark, neatly pressed suit, but his posture wasn't confident. His shoulders were tight, his jaw clenched, his eyes shifting between Sophia and the floor like he was afraid to look at her for too long. The experts sat with their clipboards, their calm expressions disguising the storm brewing in the room. The lead expert leaned forward and said, Jacob, do you want to stay married? Jacob inhaled sharply. The mic picked up the sound. His hands tightened together in his lap. For the first time since the wedding, the jokes were gone. The nervous charm was gone. He wasn't hiding behind anything. Just Jacob. Just sincerity. He looked at Sophia with eyes that held more emotion than he'd shown in weeks. He swallowed hard, voice unsteady, but honest. He said, I'm scared. Honestly, I'm terrified. Not of marriage, and not of being with you. I'm scared of messing this up. He blinked slowly, and his voice softened. I know I joke too much. I know I take the easy route when conversations get hard. It's not because I don't care. It's because I care too much. And I've never had something like this before. Someone like you. Sophia's breath hitched. Tears gathered at the corners of her eyes. Jacob continued, eyes locked on hers, and said, You're strong. You're focused. You're a mother, a leader. You're everything I admire and everything I'm not. He paused, his voice cracking slightly, and continued saying, "But I want to grow. I want to learn how to be what you need. I'm not perfect, and I'm definitely not the ideal husband, but better than the man I was yesterday. And I want you, not the cameras, not the show, just you. So yes, yes, I do." Sophia wiped her cheek, stunned. She hadn't expected this Jacob, this version of him, vulnerable and real. The expert turned to her and asked, "Sophia, do you want to stay married or get a divorce?" Her heart pounded. The room felt suddenly too warm. Her eyes closed as she pulled air deep into her chest. She thought about everything, the good and the bad. Her son's laugh, Jacob's goofy smile, the arguments, the loneliness. The nights she laughed with him on the couch, the nights she cried herself to sleep. His jokes, his effort, his flaws, his heart. Her hands shook. She could feel Jacob tense beside her, waiting, hoping, terrified. Her voice trembled as she tried to say, "I choose," as the rest of her sentence hung in the air, suspended between hope and heartbreak, an unfinished decision heavy enough to change all of their lives. The silence in the studio stretched long and thin, tight enough to snap. Sophia sat perfectly still, staring at her hands. Her fingers curled and uncurled over the fabric of her dress, as if kneading the truth inside her. The experts waited. Jacob waited. The producers behind the cameras leaned forward as if gravity itself was pulling them. Sophia lifted her chin. A tear slid down, but her voice, though soft, was steady. She took one more breath and said, "I choose to end the marriage. I want a divorce." Jacob blinked hard, the words hitting him like a sudden punch. He didn't move, didn't look away. He just froze, as though turning his head would make it real. The experts nodded, sympathetic. But Sophia wasn't finished. She wiped her cheek again, voice shaking now. She said, "And I'm not ending it because I think you're a bad man, Jacob. You're kind. You're funny. You have more heart than you show. But I'm ending it because I haven't been honest." The room jolted. Jacob looked at her, confusion, hurt, and fear tangled in his expression. The lead expert asked, "What do you mean, Sophia?" She clasped her hands tightly, knuckles trembling. She said, "There's something I didn't disclose before the wedding, something I should have said on day one. I wasn't fully over my son's father when I signed up for this show. I told myself I was. I told the producers I was. But the truth is, the feelings I buried came back. He reached out to me when we were on our honeymoon. And he told me he missed me and he can't live without me." Jacob's hand fell away from his lap, landing limply beside him. Sophia whispered, "And a part of me realized I'm in love with him. But I don't want that to hurt you. I didn't plan for it. I can't drag you into a triangle you never asked to be in." Jacob's eyes reddened. He didn't cry, but the pain was unmistakable, raw and exposed. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands clasped together. For once, he didn't have a joke, didn't have a wall, didn't have any protection, just his heart, bruised and unguarded. He whispered, barely audible, "So, this whole time, you were playing me? For what?" Sophia nodded slowly. "I'm sorry, Jacob. Truly." Jacob swallowed, hard, and aggressively said, "Apology not accepted." "Jacob, please," she said, "I didn't want to lose the chance to see who you were, and it was just so hard to face the truth." The expert sat quietly, watching two strangers who tried to become lovers and instead became enemies. Sophia reached for a tissue. Jacob stared at the floor. Finally, he spoke. "Thank you. I guess that's why you moaned his name when we were consummating our marriage on our honeymoon? You were thinking of him every time we had sex?" And I was a sorry wimp of a man for looking past it, knowing good and damn well you were letting me smash my wife while my wife was fantasizing about her baby daddy. Sophia whispered, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I don't want to break your heart. I just can't keep living a lie." The cameraman signaled they were still rolling, but at that moment, it didn't matter. Sophia exhaled, relieved, but Jacob inhaled, shattered. And just like that, their marriage ended in devastation. 6 months later, the reunion stage was sleek, modern, and glowing under softer lights than Decision Day. A quiet hum of anticipation filled the room as the audience settled into their seats. Posters of each couple hung behind the host's chair, some smiling, some fake smiling, some not smiling at all. And then there was Jacob and Sophia. Their photos sat side by side. Two strangers who had once said, "I do," without even knowing each other's name. Two people who walked away with truths too heavy to carry together. The host walked on stage with a practiced grin and said, "Welcome back, everyone, to the Love and Happiness 6-month reunion special. Tonight, we check in with the couples, the successes, the surprises, and the heartbreaks." The camera panned to the side as Jacob stepped onto the stage first. He looked different, more mature, less boyish, his beard fuller, hair trimmed neatly. His suit fit better, and there was something else, something Sophia never saw during filming, his confidence, but also a lingering sadness behind his eyes. The host smiled warmly and said, "Jacob, welcome back. And how have the last 6 months been?" He exhaled slowly, answering, "Honestly, hard. A lot of self-work. I had to look at some things I avoided for years, my humor, my habits, the way I run from heavy emotions. I started therapy. I picked up journaling." He chuckled softly. "I know. Me? Journaling?" The audience laughed. "But I'm growing. For real this time," he said, as the host nodded approvingly. "And have you spoken to Sophia since Decision Day?" Jacob hesitated, then softly said, "No." The crowd murmured and the host continued, "Are you open to seeing her tonight?" Jacob swallowed, nervous. "Yeah, I think it's time." A door on the opposite side of the stage opened. Sophia entered slowly, elegant, composed, her hair in soft curls, and her dress was teal. That hugged her in confidence. She looked stronger, softer, and maturer in a way that pain sometimes forces a person to become. But behind her eyes, a flicker of anxiety. Jacob's breath caught, but he forced a small smile. She sat, but careful not to sit too close. The host clasped his hands and said, 6 months. A lot has changed. Sophia, how have things been?" Sophia's voice was calm but full of depth. She said, "I've been learning to forgive myself for rushing into something I wasn't ready for not being honest sooner, for hurting Jacob. And I've also been rebuilding my family." The host raised an eyebrow. "You mean with your son's father?" Sophia nodded and answered, "Yes. We're taking things slowly. He's in counseling. We're trying to see if we can create something healthy for our son and for ourselves." Jacob blinked, keeping his face composed. Sophia turned slightly toward him, saying, "I want to say, I'm sorry. Again. For everything. You deserved honesty. You deserved clarity. And you deserved someone who was emotionally available." Jacob's eyes softened. "Sophia, it's okay," he whispered. "Really, I'm not mad anymore." The host jumped in and asked, "Jacob, did Sophia's reveal on Decision Day change the way you saw her?" Jacob swallowed, thinking for a moment, then uttered, "It hurt, but it also made me understand her better. She wasn't confused because of me. She was confused because she had a whole past that wasn't finished." and I got caught in the middle of that story. Sophia's lips trembled with guilt. But, Jacob added, I'm glad she told the truth. I'd rather be hurt by honesty than comforted by a lie. The audience sighed in sympathy. The host leaned forward and said, That's awesome of you, Jacob. But is there anything you two want to say to each other before we move on? Sophia hesitated, then spoke softly. You were a good husband for the short time we were married. I just wasn't able to be a good wife. Jacob's voice cracked just a little and told her, And you were worth trying for. I just wish I had known the full picture. Sophia wiped a tear discreetly. There was silence, deep, emotional silence. Then the host cleared his throat and said, Now, we have a question everyone at home wants to know. As he looked at Jacob, Are you seeing someone new? Jacob's ears turned red. He laughed nervously and answered with a launch into full Def Comedy Jam mode, BET style, and said, Hell yeah, my dude. And if I ain't running the streets of Coy Island like a horny jackrabbit, then my name ain't Jacob B. Sanford. The audience erupted in cheers, and he continued saying, And if I was good-looking, I would have a honey on all four corners of the island. Y'all would be calling me Jay the Player. The audience loved it. All of the laughter continued. Sophia smiled, genuine and warm, and said, Oh my God, Jacob, here we go with the jokes. Uh-huh, he said. Here we go, Sophia. And y'all know it's bad when your marriage ends before your Amazon one-day delivery order arrives. I'm still waiting on the Just Married t-shirts to show up. Crazy, right? My marriage ended faster than my Wi-Fi reconnects. And contrary to the experts' opinions, we weren't ready for marriage. The only long-term commitment I've ever kept is my Netflix subscription, and even that I share with my cousin, so technically, I'm in an open relationship. And look, I know the experts said we were compatible, but come on, even puzzle pieces get forced together sometimes. And you, Sophia, my sweet ex-wife Sophia, listen, I hope your ex treats you right. I sincerely do. But if he doesn't, give me a call, and I'll babysit the kid while you yell at him. Well, I may have lost my wife, got dumped on national TV, and even found out I'm gonna be a dad before I was ready. But hey, at least I get to use this broken-hearted platform to tell jokes like I'm on a Saturday Night Live. The audience laughs hysterically, some awkward, some genuine, but Jacob grins anyway, his trademark mix of charm and self-deprecation intact. And as the cameras faded and the lights dimmed, one truth remained. Not every marriage is meant to last. Not every love story has a perfect ending, and sometimes the greatest lessons come wrapped in heartbreak or a really terrible stand-up comedy act. Jacob walked away that night with an awkward smile, a clearer sense of himself, and an unexpected journey ahead. Sophia returned to her family, wiser and stronger, carrying hope, love, and a little bit of fear. Life, as it often does, moved forward, messy, unpredictable, and completely unscripted. And somewhere in the middle, Jacob learned the most important lesson of all. You can survive heartbreak and still tell a joke about it. Thank you for listening, and please, don't forget to like and subscribe. We appreciate your support.